Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome to the Nordic F3 Championship on Apex Racing TV. And over the course of the next 10 weeks, we will bring you action from Kota, Interlagos, Silverstone, Barcelona before we round out the season at the Nürburgring. However, tonight, for round one, we are at the iconic Spa. And of course, Spa-Francorchamps is one of the classic race circuits beloved by drivers and spectators alike, where today the true essence of speed can be explored in spectacular style on a safe, modern facility. However, it hasn't always quite been like that. In its original incarnation, Spa was a circuit truly to be feared, as it posed dangers almost like no other. Fast straights, sweeping corners and unpredictable weather could combine to create a lethal concoction, and sadly all too often did. However, today, due to the beauty of sim racing, we don't have to worry about any fatalities, just great racing out on track. I'm Tim Cox, I'm joined by Seb Bosher-Williams, and we've got Luis Rea in the production booth. Well, what can we say about this league? Just to run you through the format for today, the drivers just taken to the track for qualifying right now. They've got 10 minutes to complete 4 laps before we head out for race 1, a 15-minute sprint race, before we head across to race 2, where the group will be formed from the results from race 1. However, the top 8 will be inverted. We have 30 minutes for a longer feature race, and there are mandatory pit stops forced. Seb, to make a little bit different for F3 for the drivers to have to think about in the sense of pit stops mid-race.
It certainly is, and I think that's the beauty of this league, is we have got this extra strategic element, and we've also got this consistency element as well that we're bringing in with the 2 races. That means that you have to sort of always have quite a safe race 1 to make sure that you get that grid position for race 2 where the points are doled out. And you're right, you do have this pit stop, so it's going to be really interesting, and I think it's going to be one that you certainly are going to have to watch every single corner, because anything can happen. These F3 cars can race so well, and who knows what's going to happen with the pit stops. And even if the drivers are prepared for the pit stops, you're right, it's so rare for Formula 3 cars to do pit stops. How many of these drivers have done F3 pit stops in a race before?
Well, other than the perennial damaged invoked ones, where you're normally retiring the car, getting it towed to the pits, like you say, to actually come in during racing conditions and make a pit stop. It is incredibly rare, if at all. It's something that you rarely see, even within leagues, as how they're just a little bit of a spin just on the exit of Blanchimont. Of course, Spa, it's all iconicness. 4.3 miles, 7 kilometers in length, and plenty of chances for overtaking here, Seb. I feel it's going to be a big, long slipstream out of La Source, all the way through Eau Rouge, riding on down the Camel Straight, down to the big braking area that is Lacoon.
Certainly is, and one of the points that we always sort of seem to mention it at Spa is that getting first position isn't necessarily the best way of running this race. You've got such a long slipstream down to, as you said, Lacoon, the first sort of heavy braking zone of the lap. You're so vulnerable if you're the lead driver. We've seen in other races, in other F3 races, that if you're the lead member of a pack, you're going to be swamped. So really crucial, actually. I think that anybody starting second or third has a huge advantage down into the chicane for the first time. And then what's great is because we've got the second race, everybody can learn what happened in the first race, where there were incidents, where they might have been quicker than other drivers, and they can use that again. So I think this first race is going to be a little bit of a fact-finding mission for everybody out there. But yeah, I think you're sort of looking at Isaacson in third. I think he's got a great chance if the slipstream is as powerful as it normally is.
Well, you see just how thin the wing is there. It's just basically like a very slim tabletop. Certainly one of the tracks that you run the least amount of wing on here, Seb, isn't it? Just to utilise that slipstream and to make overtaking moves down the Camel Straight, and of course through the absolutely iconic, hold on for dear life Blanchimont.
Yeah, it certainly is that you do tend to run very low downforce, but we're having a look at the number 8 car here, and you could just see the difference between Isaacson's wing and Hakon. It just goes to show that people are taking a different way of running the car. You can either sacrifice the first and third sectors to have more downforce and be quicker through the middle sector, or you could do the opposite of that, take off some downforce, be really quick in a straight line, but you will struggle through the flat out corners we're seeing now of Pouon or of Blanchimont. So really got to think about it, and it will impact your tyre wear, and with a 30-minute race that could become really crucial. There's so many factors, and I just Isaacson's wing, I've seen like more sort of more rear wing at Monza. I don't think I've ever seen a wing that thin before.
I think correct for me. See Lasse Sorensen there going for his teammate, going for exactly the same trait with that incredibly thin wing. I mean, surely Seb, what they're thinking about here is that they'll get the moves done down the straight and then just try and hold on for dear life, as Sorensen just, you see clearly there, having to do so out of La Source. And then just, where it can become, singular in terms of the line through corners from Bruxelles pretty much all the way through to Stavelot. Do you think they're just, making sure that, right, okay, if I can get myself ahead, get my overtakes done, I can hold people up and keep them behind through that section, knowing that they're really going to struggle to compete with me through this faster flowing sections?
I think they certainly are, and I think it's a really good assumption to make. You will be a lot quicker on the straights, and you're right. And just to add into that mix as well, the driver won't be able to get past you, but they'll also be within the dirty air, so they'll be struggling for grip anyway. So even if they were running so much more downforce than you, they still couldn't sort of get up to the back of you. But I think it's definitely the quickest way to run a lap around here. But is it the quickest way to run a whole race around here? The car is going to be more on edge. It's going to be harder to get it slowed down into the braking zones, and a lot less forgiving if you get onto the grass a little bit. If you just sort of, your mind wanders for half a second and you get onto the grass, it's a lot harder to catch the car. And again, I think the tyres are going to wear just a little bit quicker, so it might be the best way to run one lap around here. But will the drivers that have opted for a slightly safer setup with the more downforce sort of come into their own at the end of the race? And as we've seen in real F2 races, where they've just got such better tyre life at the end that they can come through the field and get huge amounts of position. So there's so much going on in this race, and I for one cannot wait.
We're currently topping the timing sheets there. You see with a 2:09, but Isaacson, Torp goes up to second, displacing Isaacson 6,000. You've read that right, 6,000th of a second between himself and Paul. Although that's just changed slightly as Murray just goes quicker again to extend that gap out. But our top three covered by under a tenth. In fact, just a fraction over half a tenth. That is how close qualifying has been. Anders Murray, you can see from his picture there, the league's Valtteri Bottas lookalike. And well, clearly invoking some of the speed of the man that he looks like to take himself to the top of the timesheet. He will be starting from pole as things stands at the moment. Gullickson, it looks like he's running out. We're on 9 minutes 40 out of 10 minutes to get the qualifying in, so he's not going to complete a lap as Jökulsson just having a bit of a spin there at La Source. Doesn't matter the lap that he moved on to there, wouldn't have counted anyway, so doesn't need to worry about too much about that. Andreasson currently in 14th, but well, that's where he is going to remain because that is qualifying done and dusted here for race 1 of round 1 at Spa of the Nordic F3 Championship. Anders Meyer, he will start on pole with Thomas Torp joining him for company on the front row of the grid. Isaacson and Behrens are on the second row with Larsen and Gullickson making up your third row of the grid. Jeston Bakker and Olason are on the fourth row with Hendon and Scarrett rounding out your top 10 and the fifth row of the grid. Jökulsson and Sorensen, they're on the sixth row with Otterholt and Anderson 13th and 14th. Sando and Nilsson takes you up to 16th with Tveitan and Harlson takes you up to 18th place. Ryan and Lindo, they round out your top 20 and the 10th row of the grid with Haug and Joachim's daughter take it on the 11th row of the grid. Lussers and Haugson to 24th place. The last few rows being made up of Telstad, Avisand, Restad, Peterson, making it your last complete row of the grid with Eric Jensen rounding out the field in 29th. The last three drivers not setting times during qualifying could prove to be a wise move. Maybe looking to make it some places from any potential carnage and mayhem that may happen on the first lap. Just waiting for the last few drivers to take to the grid before we head out for the 15-minute sprint race, race 1 of the evening here on Apex Racing TV. It's going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be all about that race of who can get to Lacombe first. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers? That remains to be seen. And we'll find out very shortly because here come the lights. Let's get ready to go racing at Spa in the Nordic F3 Championship. And we are away. And you can see the 55 there of Gullickson not getting the best of start, just dropping a couple of places, being swarmed by the IGL coating team, who make up from second pretty much all the way down to 7th place right now. But it looks like, there's a big incident up at La Source. 3, 4, 5 cars involved in that. But Torp, he's got away cleanly. Likewise, our top 5 they've remained as they were on the grid. Jeston Bakker's up a place into 6th. And here comes the slipstream. Torp is locked into Meyer as we head down the Kemmel Straight for the first time. Torp's going to be on the outside. He is slightly ahead. Are we going to see a move around the outside into Lacombe? Hold tight, everyone. Here we go, and there's almost contact. And Meyer just about squeezes through and retains the lead of the race here in race 1 in spectacular fashion, Seb.
Yeah, absolutely indeed. Great move by Meyer there, just making sure that he claimed the corner. It was his, and just goes to show that this low downforce package is really good in a straight line, but as soon as you get to the corner, Torp just didn't have enough grip to go around the outside, even though he was quite significantly ahead of Meyer there, but really close. Isaacson lurking in the background, he is looking very quick as well. He topped the timing stands in practice, so he has certainly got the pace. And there is a lot of IGL Coatings team drivers on the tail of Meyer. Of course, not a team race at all. Every driver is racing for themselves. I think Pettersson dropping down the order. He's now into 26th place. I think he's had a little bit of an issue. And in fact, he has. He is back to the pits.
Two drivers head to the pits so far. Haugesson and Pearson the drivers, but let's keep on with this battle for the lead. A second covering our top 4. In fact, 3/4 of us a second covering our top 4. Under a 10 covering our top 2. Torp is locked in like a torpedo onto the back of Maya as we head down to the bus stop for the first time. Everyone just remaining as they are in an orderly fashion. And surely, Seb, this is all about just biding your time, waiting and playing it safe, knowing that the Kemmel Straight is coming and you can get your move done there.
It certainly is. I think if you're really desperate, I think you'll be starting to making moves at the bus stop. But I think if you have the ability to play it safe, you certainly will want to and get that run down to Lacombe because it's such a powerful slipstream. But Torp lost like 4/10 in the braking zone. Maya able to go deeper onto the brakes and carry that speed through the bus stop, and that is crucial. But look at Torp, he's coming really close. He's going to pull out once again, and we're going to see a repeat of lap 1. I think we certainly are.
I think we are indeed. These two will not give each other an inch, but somehow Torp swoops down from the outside, shuts the door in Maya's face, and takes the lead for now. 3 minutes complete, lap 2. And your order is Torp from Maya. Isaacson is third. A bit of a lock-up there into Bruce Sales. Behrens, he is 4th. Larson 5th. Gullickson 6th. And then Jester and Backer, Olason, Hendon. So our top 9 remaining pretty much as they were, barring our top 2 from the grid. Sorensen running out your top 10. He's had a crack start up 2 places. Not as good, though, as Jensen in 18th place, up 11 places. Well, I say up 11 places now. He's just had Nilsson just sneak past him. He's now up only 10 places. Likewise, Grebstrad and Talstad are both up 10 places as well. Cracking opening laps for those 3 drivers. As you just see here, Sorensen just locked in a bit of a battle with Jakobsen.
Certainly is, and crucially for race number 2, Olafsson is your race effectively pole sitter. He is in the prime position for that reverse grid pole, which is perfect for him. So if you're Hendon behind him, Sorensen or Jakobsen, you are really going to be wanting to make it up to 8th place, and then 8th place no further as Hendon takes that coveted spot from Olafsson in the braking zone of the bus stop. But Olafsson been able to come back at him down the main straight and into Lacombe. Actually, he's looking a little bit under pressure from the car behind. In fact, that's Sorensen under pressure. So all a change at the moment, and everybody seems to be sort of within a second of the car ahead. So everybody's getting that lovely benefit of the slipstream. We've had a few cars that have had some issues. We had it at one point, it was 5 cars in the pits. Only 1 car remains in the pits, and 4 that have unfortunately not had the best start to the race. And that's going to really ruin their race too, because they will start where they finish in this race. So they either need to make up a lot of positions or just sort of conserve the car and sort of get home, because yeah, it's not been the ideal start for the cars down at the bottom of the field.
So since Torp has managed to get past Maya, he's really pulled out a decent gap. It's now to around about 7/10 of a second. You see this battle in the midfield, well, the front there's Torp, but ooh, let's take a look at the replay. This is what happened at the start, Seb. Wow, you see there, all action at the start.
Certainly was. Sorry, I'm not quite getting the replay, so I'll hand over to you on this one, Tim.
That's no problem. You see how just drivers caught up in the opening laps there. It was, well, frantic start to say the least. We just see our top 3 stream through. They're starting to break away a little bit now from Behrens, currently in 4th place. That's exactly what they've been looking to do and hoping for, to break that slipstream and work together to pull away even further. Having said that, looks like Isaacson on the attack of Maya there. Could see potentially a move into the bus stop here. It could be brave to go that early too. Isaacson just backs out of it initially. Oh, the group behind just remaining as they are. Seeing that Sorensen's just about made his way past, well, I thought he had made his way past Olafsson. It's just dropped a couple of places in doing so. What's going to happen to him? Well, here we go. Now on to lap 4. can someone get a move done down the Kennel Straight? I mean, Seb, with the drivers running what seems to be a very near identical amount of wind, does that just neutralise the situation almost?
It really does, and especially considering Maya is still just within that crucial second gap, so he will be benefiting from the slipstream. It really does neutralise any effect that you've got with the different wing levels. So Isaacson has got a real task on his hands if he wants to take that second place from Maya, even though that Maya on the, not the last lap, but the lap previously, was 0.7 of a second slower than Torp in the lead. So just goes to show Maya at this point of the race struggling a little bit. Isaacson also struggling with a little bit of a lockup down there. It just goes to show how much these drivers are pushing at the moment, but it looks like Maya's struggling, and just watch that gap. If he starts to fall sort of 1.1, 1.2 seconds behind Torp, he'll start to lose that benefit of the slipstream, and Isaacson will certainly gain quite a lot of top end over Maya, and then you start to see Isaacson sort of being able to make the moves. But as it stands at the moment, I think Isaacson's got a real tough job on his hands if he wants that second place.
It seems to be that way, doesn't it, at the moment? Just keep you up to date with what's happening in and around this area. This incredibly close battle is being played out right now. Barons is starting to close up to the back of them. Our lone Icelandic driver, Jakimsdottir, she's just making her way through the field at 3 places so far into 19th, and Tveiten is not far ahead at all, only, what, 7 tenths up the road, within slipstream range. And again, these two drivers just opting for that bit of extra wing here, Seb. And, well, as you can see in the 007 there, Tveiten, a bit of a bent rear wing, which certainly is not going to be helping things. Yeah, combined with that increased downforce level, these two drivers going with a safer setup, it seems. I mean, that's not going to help the straight line speed at all of that 007 car.
It really isn't, and yeah, you're right. That car is not looking happy, and it might look like a little bit of damage, but it's almost catastrophic how much that will impact your lap time. As I've just seen Isaacson take second place, so Maya there dropping down to third. Just to very quickly go back to the point, yeah, I think the drivers that did opt for a more safer setup are falling down the order at the moment, but with about 5 minutes left to go, I think this is not where their setup's really going to shine. I think it's going to be in the long race. But yeah, it's if you've got any sort of damage, it's so catastrophic on the straight, and the drivers, you're instinctively watching your delta just sort of go down from your best lap time, and it's really demoralizing. So I can empathize with Tveiten, because that would not be a fun car to drive at the moment.
No, I mean, like you say, 2/3 race, this is completed. 10 minutes on the clock, 5 minutes remaining. Oh, Isaacson just having a little bit of a drift around there, and you can just see how loose that rear end is on his car, the number 77. Incredibly treacherous, but if you can hold on, Seb, then if you saw him do so through Fanges, then it just benefits you, and so much through that straight line speed, as you mentioned, really starting to pull away from the cars ahead. And worth mentioning, the drivers each have one fast repair each, so they do have that within their armoury. However, it's the amount of time that you lose from the stopping in the pits here at Spa. Quite a lengthy pit lane, as we see Berens has got Larson and Glickstrom right behind him. Right now, this battle for 4th is really hotting up, and I think they've spotted, the time is running out here, running out of laps, and of course the longer lap here, Seb, invokes less opportunities to get the move done, because you come around to those places, lesser amount of time due to the long lap length and lap time.
Really does, and yeah, and we've been talking about how effective the Kemmel Straight slipstream is into Lacombe, and that's many of the best overtaking spots. You hear Berens actually on the limiter, just how quick these cars are going. You can hear it bouncing off the limiter, and I think behind him, Larson, or just ahead of him now, Larson had a little bit more length in the gears, which I think was helping him. So, and Berens just changed that a little bit before race 2, because that certainly cost him a spot there.
Well, it could be on to lose yet another place here. Gullickson find his way through. He's not going to really struggle through Bruce Thousands to come out of No Name. So looking at their clock here, Seb, I reckon they've probably got about... This is going to be close. They've definitely got 2 laps left, including the lap they're on. They might even have a third potentially. I'm just trying to look at where Torp is on track. This is going to be quite close as to how many laps we've got left, and so how much fuel people, have people accounted for that extra lap? I think that could be interesting to see come, the end within the next lap or so. Have enough drivers got enough fuel in the tank? They're starting to come up to, you see from the track wrap in the top right corner of your screen right now, they're starting to come up to soon back markers. That is Haraldson. They're starting to come up onto the rear end of having the best of starts. He's caught up in that early on Ferre and finds himself 9 places down from where he started, and just backs right out of it, letting the stream of cars come through, and that looks a little bit close for comfort there between himself and Meyer, Seb. It looks like he just nipped the front end off him. I mean, it can be deceptive, the camera angle, of just how close it actually is compared to what it is in real life from the cockpit.
Yeah, I don't think that's the ideal way of letting people by from Haraldson there. I mean, I think the intentions were really good, didn't want to sort of interfere with the top 3, which is a really nice thought to have, and you certainly don't have to do it, at least with the iRacing rules. It's not like a Formula 1 blue flag when it's, you have to get out of the way in 3 waves of the flag. It's more of like a gentleman's agreement that you do, but doing it in the middle of the bus stop is, I think, is asking for more trouble than it's worth, I think I'll put it. So yeah, everybody got through. I think you're right. I think it's probably a little bit of a deception from the camera angle, but I think if you're Meyer, you're probably thinking that was a little bit closer than it needs to be, but no damage done. It certainly didn't affect the race in any way. We've seen in other races and other championships that, blue flags can sort of dictate a race win, and that hasn't done to Meyer, so I don't think I'll be too upset, but yeah, hopefully for race 2, as it's longer, we might have more blue flags that people just don't let people go in the bus stop, at least not like that.
Just having a bit of a look down the field, Sorensen currently being pressed right now to ride on board with Jukkelson, trying to find a way past the clock ticking down here at Spa. Just looking at it, I think this is gonna be potentially, I'm just having a little look, I think this might even be our final lap set. It's been pretty close where Torp is against the clock. Yeah, I think this is going to be our final lap here in race 1. There it is, definitely. We've clicked over to 15 minutes. So Torp just has to negotiate the bus stop before he takes the checkered flag of what's been relatively asserting victory after he got ahead of Meyer early on. He's just pulled away, and he is your victor here in race 1. Isaacson second. Meyer comes home in third after starting on pole. Having a look down the field of, we've got some close battles coming in here. That's the 80 there. Swanson just pipping Jokkelson to the post. To see Andreasen come across the line in 13th there. Scarrett maybe a little bit disappointed by that one. Grefstrad up 12 places. Your biggest pace climber is the number 37 for a cracking result to come home in 15th. As we see, lone Icelandic driver Joachimsdatter comes across the line. She does it in 17th place. Some of the drivers you've got a feel for, just caught up in that first lap action. Sandu being one of them, down 9 places. There's another battle right to the line here between these two. Ryan trying to chase down Jensen, and here we go into the bus stop. A big lunge on the brakes, up the inside from Ryan. Oh, and it's lost the rear end in spectacular fashion. Wow, so that was all or nothing there.
Really was, and I thought Ryan had got it, and I think, I sort of thought as he went to the breaker zone, he's not going to be able to slow that down, and then he did. I think just a little bit of too much speed into the corner. Jensen took a really wide line into the bus stop. I think he was thinking that there's no way you're going to make that apex, so I'm going to almost drive off the track to the outside and then just sort of snip back, and it worked. He did a great job to maintain that position. But Ryan there, I mean, it's sort of one of those moves that you can kind of do. You know, Linda is so far behind the number 31 car that, you know, Ryan didn't have anything to lose by making a move. I mean, his pride was hurt, but that was kind of it. So, yeah, it's always nice to see those moves. No contact made. It was hard racing. It was that was a really enjoyable first race, wasn't it, Tim? That was really nice and clean, and yeah, it was. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was a nice way to introduction into the championship, and well, definitely a interesting one as we just head across into session between the two races. Let's take you through your race results from race 1. Thomas Torp taking the first victory of the season with Isaacson in second, his teammate and Racing Labs Esports driver Anders Meyer coming home of the last podium positions in third. Kjetil Larsen in fourth with Jakob Behrens, his teammate, right behind him in fifth place. Gullikson, the privateer, in sixth for a trio of IGL Coatings drivers. Yesterbakken in seventh, Hendon and Olason taking up to ninth. Then it was a trio of privateers. Sorensen rounding out your top 10. Jokkelsen 11th and Otterholt in 12th. Andreasen of Aladdin Oil in 13th with another IGL Coatings driver. Scarrett, he was 14th with Grebstrad of Ignium Motorsport in 15th. Nilsson of Aladdin Oil in 16th. Then it was, as I mentioned earlier, our lone Icelandic driver in the series, Joachimsdotter, Hell Racing in 17th with Telstad in 18th place. And then the last two drivers within the minute mark and relatively close to finishing. Lufsus in 19th and Sviten in 20th. Then we've got Jensen and Ryan, where we saw how close they were coming into the bus stop on the final lap. Actually, Ryan spinning and just conceding, well, putting back to where he was originally, the Team Slow-Mo driver. Lindu in 21st with Sandu behind him in 23rd. So 24th, and Peterson 25th with Haig, last driver on the lead lap. Then it's Haraldson and Avisland taking up to 28th place with Rakusen, the last driver to finish, and rounding out our field here from Spa. As mentioned, just a brief hiatus between the two races for us to calm down and relax before we jump back in. Of course, 30 minutes of racing coming up. The top 8 finishers, they will be inverted to form the grid for race 2. The remaining of the field, they will be formed by where they finished in race 1. Now, Seb, interesting fact to you, obviously, being Formula cars, Fernando Alonso never won at Spa, but on his first outing in the World Endurance Championship here for Toyota, won in his first attempt. A little fact and a little stat around at each of the circuits.
That is a really good fact, and yeah, I'm kind of speechless at that. You would have thought Fernando would have won it everywhere. So, just goes to show that some drivers sort of suit better different driving styles, and we see that within iRacing as well. Different cars suit drivers, but Hendon, he's got to suit this car down to a T if he wants this race win. Of course, he is your reverse grid pole sitter. He will line up in the prime position with Christian Backer behind him in second, eager to take that lead into Le Mans.
Will be indeed, and here is your grid. Hendon and Justin Backer, as you mentioned, on the front row of the grid with Gullikson and Behrens on the second row. Larsen and Meyer in the third row with your top 2 of Isaacson and race winner Torp on the fourth row of the grid. Olason and Sorensen taking up to 10th place in the 5th row with Jokkelsen and Otterholt up there on the 6th row of the grid. The 7th row is Andresen and Scarrett, with the 8th row Grebstrad and Nielsen. 9th row being Joachimsdotter and Telstad, with Lufthaus and Svitten taking up to 20th place on the 10th row of the grid. And then it's Jensen and Ryan, where we saw how close they got in race 1, with Lindu and Sandu up to 24th place and the 12th row of the grid. And then we have got Peterson and Haig, Haraldson and Avisland making up the last complete row of the grid, with Hakusen rounding out your field. But here come the lights, and let's get ready to go racing and racing. Someone's jumped the start already. That is the 91 there. And Otterholt. Oh no, it's gone from bad to worse for him. He's going to fall through the order and incur a big penalty, but 3 wide into the source. This can only end in one way. They've surely got to sort themselves out. It's going to be incredibly challenging to go through Orouge and Raddy on side by side. Luckily, they all fan out. Maya just up a couple of places. Electric start from him, picking the pockets of Behrens and Larson in these opening stages. But Hendon leads down the Kemmel Straight for the first time. Maya under pressure. Here comes Behrens looking for a move round the outside into Lecoum. But Maya says, no, you're not having it that easy. But Behrens says, hold my beer, watch this, and holds on right around the outside. And they're still by side on the run down to Bruxelles. And who is going to come out on top? As somehow they remain almost wheel to wheel as they come into no name. Surely Behrens is going to get ahead, and yes, he has. Wow, Seb, that was amazing, but it's still not over because Maya is back on the attack once more. But Behrens just keeping the car ahead there. Wow.
Wow, indeed, what skill to do that on the first lap. Cold tyres, you know, don't really know what the car's feeling like, and you're racing side by side for pretty much the entire lap. So great job by Behrens there, and Maya as well, for not ending up in an incident and spinning off. So no harm done, but absolutely amazing racing, and that's what league racing really provides, is the ability to race so close to other people. And it's great for the viewers, it's great for the drivers, and it's great for us commentators. But right behind him, Larson, very much under pressure from race 1, Rinner Torp. As we head down towards the bus stop, where we see a move with teammates as we go through Blanchemont. It's all to play for, but what a great start from Maya. I mean, up 2 positions at the start, only down to 1 position gain from his starting position, but still a great job. Oh, with Larson, well, he's going to have a move down the inside of Maya there.
Well, I was going to say, it looks like he might even go the opposite way, but then they sort themselves out on the exit of the bus stop. The IGL Coatings drivers all line and stern, looking at the 4 places there. From Torp to Larson to Isaacson to Sorensen to Scarrett. But I tell you what, Maya has really started to pull away as action down at La Source. So you see Jockelson trying to find a way past Scarrett there. Having to settle and tuck back in once more. So 2 Aladdin Oil drivers, Anderson and Nielsen, right behind us. We come over through Radion and down the Kemmel Straight. And surely this is going to advantage Scarrett because he's running a lot lower wing. Look, despite Jockelson being in the slipstream, Scarrett is just pulling away, and something's happened to Gessenbacher. He's falling right down through the order. There he is on the inside. And Lecoum, he's come off the track and he's all the way down through the field as he's waiting to find a gap to rejoin the track.
Absolutely disaster for Gessenbacher. I bet you he's just got a little bit too much on the apex curb, and that sent the car around, and that is the perils of a low downforce setup. We saw how much Jockelson lost to Scarrett in the straight, but you know, you have to say that Gessenbacher has lost a lot more with the spin, so that is the risk-reward strategy of a low downforce setup. And you see how much more grip Jockelson has over Scarrett side by side through Pouon. Will he be able to outbrake him as we come down towards the Lafania chicane? Yes, he can, right around the outside. What a move from Jockelson.
That is amazing. Wow. I mean, it just goes to show what having the higher downforce setup, where it pays dividends in this section of the track. And if you don't get the move done here, you're going to be in the whole world of pain come the Kemmel Straight. Because, well, as we saw at the start of the lap, the way that Scarrett was, you know, despite Jockelson being in his slipstream, Scarrett was pulling away from him. And we see Scarrett having a bit of a fight back, but Jokkelson's going to be able to hold on a bit tighter. Geez, to the higher downforce, down onto the brakes, into the bus stop, and wow, Jockelson just keeping hold of. That's Behrens on the left-hand side of your screen. Something's happened to him. Gullickson, he's into the pits as well. It's all action. Something's happened near the front. Myers up to second place. Torp up into third right now.
I think Maya and Berenson have had a little bit of a coming together. They were super close to each other at one point, and I was keeping an eye on it, and I think Berenson's come off worse. So I think something's just happened down at the bus stop.
Well, let's take a look hopefully soon as well. Hendon is just checking out in the front, 3.3 seconds clear of the field. And you've got to feel he's just going to be praying with every bone in his body right now that Mayer and Torp will start battling and battling hard, because it's just going to allow him to extend this gap even further. Bit of a look up into Bruxelles there for the 118 car. The Hendon of IGL Coatings is pulling away, isn't he? Said that gap is, well, it got close to nearly being 3.5 seconds. He's definitely pulled another good 10th over Mayer and Torp through this, you know, through to where he is right now out on track.
He is, and he really just, I think he has got a lot of pace, but I think Mayer and Torp are just a little bit quicker when they're in clean air and not racing each other. So Mayer and Torp, I mean, if you're Hendon, really need to start racing, and they certainly look like they're going to do that. And just to add a little bit more intrigue into this race, we've got Larsen and Isaacson right behind this Mayer and Torp battle. So it's all to play for, and Hendon's in such a perfect situation at the moment. He's got no cars ahead of him, he's got a gap behind, he can just focus on driving how he wants to drive the car, drive the tyres how he wants to drive the tyres if he wants to push or conserve a little bit. It's so good when you have a gap like that, and it just allows you to not watch your mirror. Unlike Mayer, who's having to watch his mirror from not one, not two, but 3 IGL Coatings cars into the bus stop, and I think Mayer is probably not enjoying that sight in his rearview mirror at the moment.
So, of course, let's not forget that the drivers, you know, they are forced to make a pit stop because they're fuel limited during this race. So, how much is pit strategy potentially going to play a part? I mean, these 4 drivers right now are, you know, relatively even on pace, running what looks like, you know, very near identical setups. Does Torp sit behind Mayer and just conserve fuel? Well, okay, that just answers that question. Torp straight up the inside, and I think this is going to be the move done into Lake Coon. Wow, well ahead. So much so he can pull back onto the racing line. Well, that completely blows out of the water my theory then. Forget that one, Seb.
I don't think it does, because I think Mayer kind of let Torp go there. He wasn't really fighting. We've seen Mayer be really aggressive as Torp there has a lockup for good measure into Bruxelles. I think Mayer might be doing your strategy of just sort of hanging back, saving a little bit of fuel, thinking about the long game in this race, and that could really pay dividends in the end. However, you've got to now defend from Isaacson and Larsen, because track position is still pretty key around here, but I mean, Torp has been absolutely on it so far today. You know, he was, of course, won the first race, started 8th, and already up to 2nd place, and he's gained 2/10 on our race leader through this middle sector alone. So he is absolutely rapid out there at the moment. But yes, you're right, we have got this pit strategy to think about. It is going to turn the field on its head. And as I alluded to earlier, you know, some drivers might have never made a racing pit stop in the F3 before. And there are so many variables that you think about when you pit. You've got to, you know, make sure that you hit the limiter, as I haven't done in certain races before, and you've got to drive into your pit box and not miss it like I've kind of done before in other races. I mean, what I'm trying to say is pit stops are really dangerous and you can use a lot of time. So, you know, you can't just take for granted the order that we've got at the moment. It can change at any point, but especially during the pit stop. So you've got to stick around, you've got to watch it. But Torp is looking super quick. 8/10 between him and Mayer. So, yeah, what a great lap.
Also said, he's also closed the gap up on Hendon, interestingly. So last time around, just looking at it, Torp was 7/10 quicker than Hendon. That gap has come down to still now 3.3 seconds. You see it on the screen right now. The differences between between Torp and Mayer, where Torp able to pull away from Mayer. There we go. So yeah, other than that, you know, Hendon has been pulling away up until now, but now Torp is in clean air as Isaacson just getting past Mayer. Mayer currently just dropping down through the order, but as you say, Seb, is he conserving fuel? That is the question we need to be asking ourselves, and looking at it, that could well be the feature, you know, not battling the drivers, just trying to conserve his tyres as well, keep life into them. You know, a lot of people locking up into Bruxelles. I mean, Torp definitely did it there, so did Isaacson. I think Mayer was probably the only one that didn't there. Also, just seeing him run wide out of no name, well worth mentioning. drivers are limited to the amount of off tracks that they get here. So in terms of the track limits before they incur penalties. Now, 12 off tracks gets you a drive-through penalty. Every 6 off tracks after that incurs another drive-through penalty. And Barsem, I know despite his updates to iRacing, on iRacing, has become, a little bit more softer and forgiving in terms of its off tracks. But when you're pushing and locked in such a tight and difficult competitive battle like we're seeing on the screen right now, they are so easy to incur, aren't they?
They really are. And interestingly, we know that Torp at least got one on the last lap because he did a 2-minute 9.4, which should have been the fastest lap, but it wasn't counted, which meant that he had to at one point have gone off the track. So he's gained at least one off track or one incident point. So you're right. You've really got to be thinking about that, and Maya, by maybe just hanging back a little bit, not risking getting into contacts, because they give you a maximum 4 incident points, not sort of getting into contact, sort of just letting people go away and sort of coming back through the later. It could be a really, really good strategy as Baron comes into the pit. So that's quite an early pit stop. So he might have a little bit of damage from that tangle that he had with Maya earlier on in this race, but I'm not sure if he can go to the end on that, actually, with that pit stop.
I'm just looking at it, Seb. I think he might be okay, or...
Was that the drive-through?
No, he was stationary for only 4 seconds. I think a splash of fuel as we see Isaacson trying to make a way past Maya there. No, sorry, Maya making his way past Isaacson either. Clearly seeing Torp starting to get away from Isaacson and deciding to make the move. The gap from Torp to Hendon. So between first and second, there's a lock-up into Bruxelles there from Isaacson. That has come down. It's now within 2.4 seconds. Torp is catching. But at that rate, Seb, he's got another 5 laps roughly in the bag. I mean, that's another 10 minutes roughly of racing, isn't it? So, and then here's the perennial, once you've caught someone, that's one thing, but getting past is another.
It really is.
I do believe the late, great Murray Walker said himself.
I think you're right, and he was very true when he said that, because it is so difficult to stay. Let alone just stay on the back of somebody. Even if you're a few tenths a lap quicker, it's not enough just to automatically get up and pass them. You've got dirty air to think about. You've got the fact that Hendon has been able to sort of bring the tyres in better, and that really, really makes a difference on iRacing. There is so much tyre strategy, and anybody that's been racing and or doing practice for the Nordschleife for 24 knows how important it is to bring tyres in slowly, and Hendon's been able to do that. He's been in the lead. He's had nothing to worry about, and Torp, he's had to race for his positions. He's been making those mistakes, locking up a little bit, but Torp there, he was 1 second, actually 1.1 seconds quicker than Hendon on that last lap. So Hendon, struggling for pace at the moment, might just be looking at his relative and seeing Torp barreling down towards him, and he can certainly see him in his mirrors now. But Hendon, so Torp, I think, has got quite a challenge to catch up and pass Hendon. But if that gap is coming down by the sort of gaps that we're seeing at the moment, like 1.1 seconds, it's certainly easier than the sort of like 4 or 5 tenths we were seeing a few laps ago.
Lasse Sorensen, he is into the pits. He's just heading out now, so he's down to 16th because of it. Harrelson, you're currently your highest climb up 15 places into 12. Likewise, Peterson as well. He is up 14 places into 11th, and our highest place gain is altogether 10th place. Ryan, he is up 12 places so far. You see a bit further, he is further down the field. All these rises all together, 10th, 11th and 12th, Ryan, Peterson and Haraldson. See another cracking battle here. That looks like we've got a place change. Potentially Vieten Vieten just backing out of it a little bit there against Andreessen. Running out wide through no name. And of course, your highest place sitter of drivers that have pitted so far is 15th place Jakob Behrens, currently, as I mentioned, 15th place for IGL Coating, so keep one eye on him to see how he does over the next few laps. Of course, going with that early pit strategy on lap 5, 2 laps ago. Has it been an inspired move? Or will it not work out for him? Well, we will find out. We're at half race distance, so we'll find out in another 15 minutes time. Has it worked for the Norwegian driver? As Peterson's just got past Ryan there. I'd seen that from our timing software, so good move from him. But I'll tell you what, Ryan's having a bit of a fight back here. And look, Haraldson wanted to join in the fun as well. To come down through the bus stop. And that is a couple of cars actually. Scarra and Nielsen both taking to the pit lane. Likewise, Andreasen heading in as well. Wanting to get out of this fight. Sveeten. Sorry, Ryan just getting the move done on him. Well, I thought it was going to be from Haraldson. As they come side by side down the hill to Eau Rouge. It looks like Ryan's going to hold off the advances of Haraldson. But for how long? Because this is where the slipstream kicks in, and you'll expect to see Haraldson launch his way past like a rocket ship down the Kemmel Straight. Ryan forces into the outside. He's going to have to hope that he's had a lot more momentum. He's going to get the slipstream, actually, of Peterson ahead of him, and this looks like it's the move done. And around the outside goes Haraldson and up into 9th.
Great move by Haraldson. Talking of moves being done, we have a new race leader. Torp is back in the lead after his almost dominance in race 1. He has overtaken Hendon, and Isaacson also has made his move past Meyer. So it's Torp, Hendon, Isaacson, your top 3, and don't quite know what's happened to Henson, because he was doing a great job, and his pace has kind of just fallen off the last few laps. As we have a look at the replay, and this is how the move was done to him.
Standard slipstream move from Torp. Hendon forces him to the outside, but I mean, from that sort of move, you know, you just can't deny the inevitable. Hendon, I think, knowing that himself, and let's say just a back out, slot back onto the racing line. Torp already pulling out nearly 8 tenths over Hendon. What sort of pit strategy are these drivers running? That is the intriguing part. Hendon gone, sorry, has Torp gone maybe with a little bit lesser fuel to invoke a slightly different pit strategy? Well, we'll find out probably in the next couple of laps. Isaacson, a new fastest lap of the race for him, a 2:09.15. Start picking up extra points as well. Peterson, he is into the pit lane from 8th position. Haraldson elected to carry on again, likewise with Ryan. Sveeten heads into the pits too. Now, as he mentioned, Jakob Behrens was the driver to keep an eye on, the first driver to pit. Now he is up into 10th. So start to make progress as the drivers who were ahead of him take to the pits. Looking at it, Seb, you know, pit lane transition time, you're looking at around about 31, 32 seconds. Now, by my reckoning, this puts Jakob Behrens right in to the fight at the sharp end.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Behrens, if that is true, that's a mega stint from him so far. And I think looking at his times, he hasn't necessarily been the quickest driver on track. You know, Isaacson setting that really rapid fastest lap time 1 lap ago, but Jakob Behrens has just been really, really consistent. He's had clean air. He's had nobody really around him to bother him, and he's just been setting really consistent laps. And, you know, Torp has been quick, but he's also had to get past Hendon. He's had to race with Meyer and Isaacson. So I think Behrens has played a little bit of a blinder at the moment. And we'll have to see, will Torp try and extend this gap, or will he feel the need to come into the pits earlier? It's all to play for. I'm really loving this added pit stop. It makes the racing just so much better.
Jensen, he is into the pits from 24th. A bit more of an extended stop for him, I think. Not too sure what's happened to him. He's out and again, running again. Lufus is also in as well. The Rat Racing driver from 25th. So here we go. Our leaders are in. Torp's in. Hendon's in. Meyer is in as well. Isaacson keeps going again. Likewise does Larson. Wow. Now keep one eye on Behrens in 10th place and where he comes out, because also Gribstrad, he is in as well from 6th place. Jokkulsson is in from 7th too. This is going to be interesting, Seb, of what strategy has everyone implied. Hendon's had a much slower stop, by about 6 tenths longer than Torp. He gets going again. Likewise, Mayer having a slightly longer stop too. There is Berens coming round La Source. Looks like that group have got out ahead of him, but I tell you what, Seb, he's really not far behind at all, is he? I mean, some 4 seconds behind Meyer.
He's not, considering that he spun in, dropped all the way down the field a few laps ago. I think that's a great recovery by him so far. So we now have Isaacson as our race leader. You'll assume that he'll come into the pits at the end of this lap. He's going to do the overcut. He's going to go for 1 extra lap, use up all the tyres he can, all of the grip that he wants to, and just hope that he can have a quicker in lap than Torp has and has an out lap. So really pit strategy playing out right now, but Torp was 3 seconds quicker in the pits than Hendon in 2nd place, or at least 2nd place in theory. Of course, Isaacson and Larson yet to pit. It's actually, I think they are 2 of the last drivers to pit at all. So have they managed just to save an extra lap? Will that pay dividends in the end? They're just heading around to the final sector now, so we should see them in the pits at the end of this lap. And let's see what's going to happen.
So Nielsen's just got past Peterson for 11th place. Could be by 784. Delara, every driver for that one. We watch Jakob Berens here in 6th place. I still disappointed 2 places down from where he started, but there we go. There's Isaacson. He is into the pits clearly. And likewise, himself and Larson are in. And there is Torp. Wow, I mean, based on this, Seb, it looks like Torp has had an absolutely blistering outlap to keep himself right in the fight. I mean, he's going to take the lead once again. So Isaacson has only just stopped. Their pits are right down the end of the pit lane, which is going to help them a little bit. As you see Isaacson getting going again. Likewise with Larson. Hendon is through, but has Isaacson done enough here? And even Larson. Wow, Hendon caught out big time there. And Larson getting the jump on them. And Berens, wow, he's had a cracker. Oh, Meyer's in the pits again, Seb. Has he picked up... Is that looks a drive-through?
That does look like a drive-through. I think we found our first victim at track limits tonight, and Meyer, disaster for him. He didn't have the exact race one that he would have liked. Of course, starting on pole, not being able to convert that into a race win. And now with the drive-through, he's down to 7th, and that means he has about 6 incident points to go before he will be right back through the pit lane once again. But what an outlap from Torp. I mean, he was absolutely rapid, and Hendon just couldn't replicate that speed because he's lost out to Isaacson and Larson. Torp is not at all, and he has extended his gap to 2.7 seconds. Is Sorensen looking interested in Meyer? Of course, Meyer being a little bit quicker, being able to be further up the field, but struggling a little bit in the 2nd phase of the race, and a lockup for good measure into Bruxelles. And we were saying how Meyer was so good at not being able to lock up the tyres and to drive, and just sort of come and ravel for him at the moment.
Well, of course, I mean, well worth mentioning, it's going to play a part at this stage of the race. Like I said, the new tyre model that the F3 got at the start of this season. I mean, we are now, not 3 weeks into the season, so it's not quite so new. Drivers have used time to acclimatise themselves to it, but tyres do really, start to go to grade during the race. As Gillickson, he's got Nielsen side by side with him, and they almost touch wheels. Wow, and somehow is Gillickson just about going to hold on. Well, I'm not sure how he's managed to do that, but he's had to succumb there to Nielsen. 784 getting ahead. Well, I thought they were going to come together there, I mean, it was so close to them touching wheels. That's if they didn't. Well, here comes Gillickson at it once more into Blanchimont, and he's going to get the move done. But we're going to see a lunge onto the brakes, into the bus stop. We've only got, some 5.5 minutes remaining, and here we go again into the bus stop. The Aladdin oil driver, Nielsen, he's not giving this one out. There's a great big fight between himself and Nielsen as they come down to La Source, still side by side. I mean, these two have been together This is before, yeah, side by side pretty much since, well before Blanchimont.
They really have, and this just goes to show the different strategies of aero. You've got Gullickson with that really skinny rear wing. He is rapid in the straight, but Nielsen is just able to hang it round the outside, brake so much later. But this is where Gullickson is going to have so much more speed. He's going to easily blast past Nielsen. Oh, 12th place is his for now, but Nielsen certainly won't be happy with that. Will he try to dive down the inside? Yes, he will. Backs out of it for now, but he will be much quicker in the second sector. This is where his car will come into its own, and just see how much more grip he has already.
Well, that was frightening for Lecombe. The amount of extra, aero downforce that he had within the car. The way he was just able to come back there on the end, midway through Lecombe and into Malmedy was almost quite scary, and I think it almost caught him a bit by surprise as Nielsen was. So Gullickson was, almost didn't even realise that he was coming, and Nielsen having to take a little bit of evasing action. You see once again that gap closing right up here, where the downforce counts through this middle part of the track as they come through the chicane of Fanges and run down to campus now. You see just how much more of a tighter line that Nielsen is able to take, but the fact that Gullickson managed to keep him behind Bay for now. But surely this is going to be his place to keep.
I think so. Whoa.
Well, you should say that, Seb. Scrap that. As that
slow down.
That's got to be.
How?
That is it's a really hefty slowdown. I thought he would have maybe burnt through it by now. Is he? I'm just trying to have a little bit of a look, Seb. No, I mean.
Pulling into the pits, the pits.
Yes, of course, he stopped on lap 2. I mean, you said about it at the time, Seb, he's running out of fuel. He's out of fuel.
Absolute craziness at this race. He's got damage at the front for good measure there. You just saw the the long roll down the pit lane. Of course, it's uphill, which won't be helping if he is indeed out of fuel. But disaster for Gullickson. He was looking so rapid. Is Tevitan trying to go around the outside of Blanchimont, which he does very well. The number 68 car of Avetsland down the inside into the bus stop will be a great move if he can make it stick, and has to back out of it for now. But great racing all around so far. And just sort of to make a point of it, we've had really close racing, but no contact, no understeering into other people. It's just been super clean. What a great race to watch so far, and let's hope that it continues for the next 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
As you say, that is all we've got left. I mean, looking right now where Torp is our leader, it's what's left on the clock. It's going to take the white flag, so they're going to head out to the final lap when he comes across the start-finish line. But these two just starting their penultimate lap. Locked into a right battle, and Ackerson, that lower downforce, just able to keep hold of that place over Asfand. They came into Lecombe through Malmedy. That is his place to keep in that number 14. Scandinavian driver through Bruxelles and looking very comfortable right now. As we mentioned, just over a minute left on the clock here. Torp leads from Isaacson, Larsen in third, Hendon, Behrens in fifth, Grimstad in sixth, Mayer. Looks like drive through hurting him, he's down to seventh. Sorensen eighth, Jokkelsen 10th, and Scarrett in the last place inside the top 10. But also Holt, this looks like he's going to get the move done. That Guinea rear wing clearly helping him through Blanchimont. But what can Lindu do to come back? Well, I think the answer to that one there is nothing. And Alterholt, he is through and up into 16th place, clearly.
Is indeed, yeah, it just goes to show. And I think I was a little bit wrong with my assumption that the higher downforce would sort of come into its own in the final part, as this is the final lap. So this is Thomas Torp's final round this track. He's done a great job, but Isaacson just catching him a little bit. I think he can really challenge him for the race win now, but Torp been pretty outstanding today, hasn't he, Tim? I mean, there's not many other words that you could use to describe this race for him.
He's been pretty clinical, hasn't he? When he's lost that first place, he's come back and, you know, kept his cool and got back out in front. I think Maya is going to be the driver who's probably going to leave here, probably one of the most disappointed. Had clear raw pace, you know, showed it during qualifying, but under race conditions hasn't quite worked for him. Sorensen just trading places a little bit there. Well, they still are in the fact, and Garrett right behind him. You see that number 66 IGL green IGL Coatings car right behind the top. Has got the best stop left to take, and he will be making it to victories from 2. The season opener of the Nordic F3 Championship with a weave across the line. He takes the checkered flag. Isaacson and Larson rounding out your podium. And a podium lockout for IGL Coatings. In fact, a top 5 lockout with Hendon and Behrens completing that top 5 for them. As, oh, this is going to go right to the line, and Jokelson's going to head right round the outside and pick the pocket as Sorensen, as Scarrett has spun. And looks like he's going to leave. He's lost a place to Peterson, so he's going to finish outside the top 10. Nielsen coming across the line there. He's going to come across in 12. Haraldson's going to beat Ryan to the post to 13th. Wow, I mean, it just goes to show them it happens right until the end in F3.
Certainly does, and that sort of final sort of shot that we saw sort of really encapsulates this whole race. It's just craziness all over, and disaster for Scarrett there, losing out on the top 10. Not sure if he sort of got a nudge around or if it was just a little bit over ambition with the throttle pedal, but either way, not the best finish to the race. But what a opening round for Torp. 2 wins out of a possible 2, maximum points gained. Of course, didn't get the pole position points, but he's done exactly what he needed to do for this championship. As we just see the rest of the drivers come across the line. This is Rudy Avitsland, the number 68 car, crossing the line. And here we see Lydia, the number 23 car. She's not had the second race that she would have wanted. In fact, she pulls into the pits, I think not really wanting to face the line. She's down 5 positions, and she had such a great opening race, didn't she?
Well, she did. Had an absolute blinder to the Icelandic driver. As Jensen's going to be last car to come across the line. You can round out your field, and once you've got that, we'll be able to bring you some results here from Spa for race 2. What's been some absolutely epic action here at this iconic circuit from start to finish. Thomas Torp making 2 wins from 2, taking the victory in race 2. We've got Isaacson in second and Larson in third, making IGL Coatings lockout at the top on the podium, with Hendon and Behrens, their teammates, making it the top 5 for them as well. Grubstad in 6th for Ignium, with Racing Labs Esports driver Mayer. He's going to be disappointed with that one. Was 7th. Jokelsson in 8th, with Sorensen and Peterson rounding out your top 10. Scarrett, that spin at the end meant he finishes in 11th, just losing that place to Peterson in front of him, with Nielsen in 12th, Haraldsson 13th, Ryan of Team Slow-Mo in 14th, with Nielsen's teammate Anderson finishing in 15th place for Aladdin Oil. And the 3 privateers of Otterholt, Lindo and Haig taking you up to 18th place, with Svitten and Halkelson running out your top 20. Then 3 drivers remaining on the lead lap. That was 21st through to 23rd. Asland Jensen and Jokumsdotter. And then a lap down for Lufers, Gullikson and Olasson, with retirements coming in the form of Sandu, Jessenbacher, who we lost all the way back on lap 1, and Talstad didn't make it past the opening lap. Wow. Let's have a bit of a chat to one of our drivers. In fact, they finished on the podium here today, here at Spa. Now enjoyed by Kjetil Larsen. Congratulations. Well, a really convincing performance, not only by yourself, but also the IGL Coatings team as a whole.
Yeah, thank you. We had a good race, some of us. So, it was a good day for IGL coatings.
Definitely. And how did you find it with the pit stop during the feature race, the longer race? A different dynamic to have to think about for F3 racing.
Yeah, I got so lucky. I was behind some cars. I managed to save some fuel, so I was managed to pass undercut Christian in the pits. I filled only 7.5 liters, I think, so I gained a lot of time in pits there. But the last few laps, I saw a gain on me, so I was a little bit afraid he would catch me. But I stayed in front, luckily, didn't make any mistakes, so I'm happy with third place in the feature race.
Definitely. Now, a couple of weeks' time, we head to Kota. It can be a little bit of a tricky track, but a little bit similar to Spa in the sense of, some long back straight, plenty of overtaking opportunities. Is it a track that you like or dislike? It seems to be it's one or the other for a lot of drivers.
Hey, it depends on which car I can choose, but I know we are going to drive the F3 car, so I haven't done that much on that track. So, but it's a cool track. It takes a little bit time to learn it, but I have some laps there, so I think it should be good.
Definitely. Before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to at all?
Of course, my team. Without them, I wouldn't be here. So we are a great crew. So thank you to them and all the practice hours, and of course to my family to let me do this.
Definitely, they always feature as a large part to all of us to allow us to do this fantastic hobby. That is Shuttle Larson, who came home on the podium in the feature race. Now, Seb, lined up for yourself, I do believe we are going to be joined by Nils Eric Isaacson.
Isaacson, it's lovely to finally speak to you. I've commentated over many of your races. I mean, what a couple of races for you. That was great for you.
Yeah, thank you. That was good. Thomas was too fast for me. Yeah, I was too slow getting by the others. So, congrats to him.
He certainly was. I think he was sort of in a league of his own today. But you had some really good pace. In fact, you had the fastest lap in the feature race. So really had a lot of pace today. In commentary, we were talking a lot about off tracks. Was that something that you guys were struggling with out on the track?
And normally, yes, but I wasn't in some big fights, so I could manage them and use them as I wanted them myself. So you usually try to use them if you can.
Yeah, that's a good point. We didn't think about that in the commentary because we did see a few drivers falling foul of it and having to sort of come in and do a drive-through. But a great race from your perspective. Did you sort of feel that as the race sort of went on from race 1 to race 2 that you sort of got more comfortable with the car because your pace just got so much? I mean, you could see the pace sort of getting quicker through race 1 into race 2 for you.
Well, I'm not sure what happened, but I think Anders at least seemed to struggle a little bit with the tires or something. I don't know. And I was managing the tires, so trying not to overheat them. Yeah, I think it was the car felt good, but not good enough.
Yes, and we noticed that. I mean, I think your car looked great, and you were certainly super quick. And I think you do yourself a little bit of a disservice because you were absolutely rapid out on the track. But we noticed that all of the IGL coatings cars were running really low rear wing. Is that sort of something that you'd all sort of decided to do together, or you've all sort of just found that that's the quickest way to run the circuit?
Actually, we learned that the last time we went on with Apex League after Super League. And then we came to Spa and we saw some boys running the low downforce setup, and it was impossible to fight in the races with them. So we decided to go very low on downforce. So the car was very loose and sketchy, but with some practice, it's okay.
Interesting. Well, you certainly, IGL had a lot of pace throughout the race. So congratulations to you, and yeah, great job by yourself. Is there anybody you'd like to sort of give a shout out to at all?
Yeah, sure. Of course, my team. It is a bit difficult when you have all the teammates around you. It's you try not to hit them and get by safely. And also to you guys for the broadcast and NSL for the championship.
Brilliant. Well, we head to Kota in a few weeks' time, so we'll hope to see you back then, and hope to see you on the top step.
Yeah, let's hope so. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And now lined up for your next set, we're now joined by our double race victor, Thomas Torp.
Good evening, Thomas. I mean, I don't really have many words to describe that race, just other than perfect for you.
Yeah, it was a very fun race. I was lucky to get a gap early in both races, so it went good.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was just talking to Nils, and he was just saying how quick you were, and you were sort of untouchable, and it certainly looked like that from the broadcast that we watched. I mean, you're just sort of almost in a league of your own at some points during that race.
Yeah, it was a perfect race, and I had a good setup for the car, so I was very happy.
That's brilliant. And I mean, how crucial was it for the race 2 to get a good start and a clean start? Because it looked like you really nailed the start in race 2.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to stay out of trouble and managed to avoid a couple of accidents. And I saw that Christian had a big lead, and luckily I could catch him pretty quickly before the pit stop. So that was perfect.
Yeah, and how did you find the pit stop? Because if officials don't sort of tend to have a pit stop, did it sort of phase you at all, or were you cool as a cucumber, as it were?
No, the pit stop was okay. I'm used to driving races with pit stop, so it was a nice feature for the race, I think.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you. Sort of certainly added sort of another dimension to it. Actually, so when you pitted and you came out, because I think it was Niels and Larson, they went for an extra lap. I mean, you had a rapid outlap. Did the car feel better, or did you just have extra pace to unleash? Because you were absolutely rapid.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt it went pretty good on the outlap. Yeah, I could maybe take one more lap also, but it was very close, so I took no chances.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worked out for you. And we were discussing through the broadcast, like off tracks, and because it's quite strict within the rules. You've only got 12 until you start to get penalties. Did you find that to be an issue at all, or were you well within that limit?
No, once I was by myself, I could relax and avoid the off tracks. I had a couple in the first few laps, but then I had good control of the off tracks.
Well, you certainly had good control of the race. I mean, absolutely incredible drive from you, and watching you was really a pleasure to watch. You just was so good in traffic, and it was really great to watch. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Sure, the whole team, we had good practices the days before the race, so that was very fun. We worked on a little bit of setup and yeah, the whole team did well.
They certainly did, and yeah, we were noticing that all the IGL coatings cars sort of had a really skinny rear wing. That seemed to really benefit everybody during the race.
Yeah, sure. I think we found a good compromise about the wings for top speed and also a little bit of grip in the infield. So that felt very good.
Brilliant. Well, it certainly paid dividends. So congratulations to you for your amazing race 1 and race 2. And we look forward to seeing you in Kota in a few weeks' time.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is Thomas Torp making a perfect start to the season with 2 victories from 2 here at Spa in round 1 of the championship. And while that has not been enough action for you, coming up over the course of the weekend, we've got 2 double headers Saturday night at 8 p.m. GMT sees Apex Racing Academy F3 VRS Super Series return from the mighty Mount Panorama. 3 15-minute sprint races across the top of the mountain. What's the worst that could happen? That's bound to be action-packed. Make sure you tune in for that one. I'll be back in the commentary box at 10:45 GMT, covering the Formula 3.5 Championship with my good friend Austin Knight. That is from Hockenheim. Make sure you tune in for that one. And then on Sunday evening at 9 p.m. GMT is the SRF Weekend Warriors from Knock Hill. And then for those of you who are either across the pond in the Americas, or those who like to burn the late midnight oil, at 1 a.m. GMT, it's the XSLR Championship. Dirt road, it is absolutely crazy. Full of short, sharp action. And well, as we saw from the previous round, it was absolutely mental. Well worth tuning in for that one if you're in the Americas, or most certainly if you fancy having a bit of a late night on a school night. Well, Seb, so much to take away from there. Obviously a double victory, 4 top, but equally some really strong performances up and down the field. What was your favourite moment from today?
Oh, I think that's a really difficult option to pick, really. I think I'm going to sort of cheap out with this. I think I'm just going to say the whole race as a whole, both races, just how clean they were, which I always really like to see, and how the race was just so close and really enthralling and engaging. So I think I'm going to take the easy way out and say both of the races were my favourite moments. But I love the fact that up and down the grid you've got, many different stories, many people that really had some really good races in both race 1 and race 2. And as the championship moves forward, these people that are sort of lower down the field but are more consistent could play dividends in the championship at the end. So it's still all to play for.
There we go. Seb Bosher-Williams sitting firmly on the fence there, nice and comfortably, and not providing any definitive answers, but who could argue with him, to be fair. It's been absolutely epic. I've been Tim Cox with Seb Bosher-Williams. We've had Lewis Araya in the production booth. Thanks very much for tuning in. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time when the Nordic F3 Championship returns from the mighty Circuit of the Americas.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar world champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.